Hey,
during
look,
breaks then
more
too?
fresh halibut arriving in the seafood departments at New Sagaya and City Market. You can buy the whole cleaned and headed halibut for just $12.99 a pound. That's a good deal. And of course, the fastest blades in the West behind the seafood counter will be happy to cut your fish into fillets, steaks, or whatever you like, no extra charge. And if salmon is your favorite, New Sagaya and City Market are featuring whole, cleaned, air-fresh coho salmon. The wonderful silvers, just $5.99 a pound. Can't catch them for that. New Sagaya and City Market. In the butcher shop at New Sagaya and City Market, a great price on boneless, skinless chicken thighs, only $2.99 a pound. Everybody loves barbecued chicken, so heat up the barbecue and invite all the neighbors for a cookout. At this low price, you can afford to feed them all. Boneless, skinless chicken thighs, $2.99 a pound, New Sagaya and City Market. Nice special in the produce department on Columbine Vineyard's red and green seedless grapes, just $2.99 a pound. Bring the gunny sack. New Sagaya, Midtown, and City Market, 13th and I.
What if buying your next car could actually be enjoyable? At Payless Car Sales, we believe it should be. If you're in the market for your next car, come by and meet our knowledgeable staff and explore our selection of quality vehicles. We offer military discounts, and we give all of our customers Carfax history reports. We can also provide warranties and handle all of your lending needs. Just like driving your car should be enjoyable, so should buying it. Visit us downtown at 919 East 5th Avenue or on our website at paylesssales.com. Payless Car Sales, where Alaskans drive.
8 stars of gold on a field of blue. Alaska's flag, may it mean to you.
I'm an Alaskan, and I'm really tired of Mark Begich and Meade Treadwell attacking Dan Sullivan. Treadwell supported Democrats in the past, but now he's acting like Begich and making ridiculous attacks he knows aren't true. Sullivan stood up to Obama as Alaska's Attorney General, fought for access to our fish and game, and brought new oil and gas jobs to Alaska. Dan is as Alaskan as it gets. My name is Athena Fulton, and I really believe that Dan Sullivan is the only candidate who can beat Mark Begich. And that would be good for Alaska.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give them a call, 569-1080. Okay.
The Biegel and Bonnie Show here on KOAN, KVNT. And one of the only places in the state of Alaska that we are not on is down in Kenai. Let me tell you before I get to that, Dwayne Bannock on with us about the Alaska Neurology Center. Sometimes your family is thrown sort of one of life's curveballs, a tough situation, a neurological condition. You really need professional assistance in order to deal with it. You need help, and we have the premier neurological facility in the state, and it is dedicated just to neurological conditions. This is a wide range of circumstances Alaska Neurology Center can take care of you for. You're looking at sleep disorders, which a lot of people have, but pain management, you know, if you're looking for pain therapy, that could be a part of it, and many of the other diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. If you are looking for access to the premier neurological center in the state of Alaska, you've got to check these guys out, because if you don't check them out, when trouble comes, you're going to go over to Providence and you're going to be miserable and walking a half mile to get to your doctor's office. AKNC.com, 565-6000, Alaska Neurology Center. Let me go to Dwayne Bannock, who's on with us. He's a talk show host down in Kenai. Welcome, Dwayne.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. You're on with Glenn here, and Bonnie Cameron's on here as well. Dan has he's flown the coop, so who knows where he is.
Wow, must be nice. He called me yesterday and asked if I'd call in today. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. I've got a number of questions about the Kenai Peninsula and sort of the different ways different parts of the states look at things. Big one, we're coming up to an election, and I don't want to talk about individual races, but I'm very interested in the take of the Kenai Peninsula and Senate Bill 21. Yes or no? Do we go back to ACEs? Do we stay with the new tax rate?
You know, we've spent a lot of time on that on our show, talking about that. I will tell you that if signs matter, if sign count matters, no vote is overwhelming. overwhelming on the Kenai Peninsula.
I would think that you guys are going to be one of the strongest no votes in anywhere in the state of Alaska because the Kenai Peninsula is desperate to have oil rise again here in Alaska.
And you're seeing all kinds of activity, particularly in oil and gas right now, taking off. Our economy is booming. Our restaurants are full. Parking lots are full. There is work available to good, skilled employees down here. And we are, some have called it the Cook Inlet Renaissance, but between that action, between the talk of the LNG potential, as well as other oil and gas activity, things are going strong. We have a delegation that is united, and when I say we have a delegation, I do cut the line off near Anchor Point and exclude the representative that I refer to as Representative Hat. But Speaker of the House Mike Chenault, Representative Kurt Olson, Senator Peter Machicki, all yes votes on Senate Bill 21.
So they're voting no. They don't want to go back to ACES. You know, what I hope people realize, and Dwayne Bannock's on the phone with me as talk show, recognize him from down there. What I hope people realize is Kenai's present could be Alaska's future.
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't it be something?
Yeah.
Who do you credit, by the way, for the Renaissance in Cook Inlet? And you can spread it across as many people as you want. You can give me one thing which you thought was key to it, because it is dramatic. We were going to import gas from Russia just 3 years ago. Dramatic turnaround, or 4 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, the big deal has to go to the consortium. That's how I refer to the group that wants to ultimately bring a natural gas pipeline from the North Slope and center it, or I should say, what do you call the end of it? Terminus. Make Nikiski its terminus. That's a big deal. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of excitement. We know of some of the properties that have been purchased by the group as they are looking to build their plant here. It's not a done deal yet, but I can only suspect that this was what it was like in Alaska during the early days of the oil pipeline, when it wasn't a done deal yet, but it sure looked like it was going to go, and all the indicators were pointing in the right direction.
If they're faking us out, they're doing a really good job, because they are literally, and I don't know that a lot of people in Anchorage and in the Mat-Su Valley understand this, they're buying property, they're getting permits ready to go for exporting LNG out of the state of Alaska to people over in Korea and other places.
And so that process is, I'm guessing, I think I've heard anywhere between 3 to 5 years away before it's done. But again, all of the indicators are pointing towards that's what's going to happen. Unlike just 10 years ago, we had an Agrium chemical plant, and all the rumor was it's going to close, it's going to close, it's going to close, doom and gloom, and then it did close. And,
that was a devastating blow, by the way. I mean, it was like 200-300 jobs, but it rolled out to Kenai. All areas were hurt.
Right, and that was one of Kenai Soldotna's lowest points economically. Then we began a rebuild, just like other communities have gone through boom and bust. But I'm here to tell you right now, it's an exciting place to be in this exciting time.
Well, I got a question for you, because I love the idea of a bridge from Anchorage over to the Mat-Su, but I also love the idea of a bridge across Turnagain Arm. And maybe that's a dream, but maybe it could come true. What do you think about a bridge across Turnagain Arm?
One of my oldest memories that I have, I'm an old guy now, but one of my oldest memories is as a small child looking at a model of what that bridge would look like. And I remember being fascinated by the little cars on the bridge, quite frankly. That's why I remember it. But if you could think of a project that would do such a thing, that not only use it for the transportation between our two communities, but think about harnessing tidal power and using it as a causeway. I'm one of those crazy guys that think tidal power is one of the world's most untapped resources. And Cook Inlet is known for its tidal power, and we don't do anything with it.
We got big tides there. If we could figure out what to do with all the silt, because that's a real issue.
Because I remember,
there's all kinds.
I remember when they were talking about that, but it wasn't going to happen because of the silt. But that was years ago.
Well, even if we just get a bridge, though, so you're in favor, or are people down there? Because I know a lot of people, they like look at Anchorage and say, it's a nice place to visit, but I don't want them, like right next to me, which we would literally be right next to each other.
We have thousands and thousands and thousands of undeveloped acres in the Nikiski area.
Oh, you're singing my tunes. I love that.
It would be virtually the next Eagle River if there was a bridge across.
How far is it, by the way, from South Anchorage to the outskirts of Sterling, basically, if we went across a bridge?
Well, I don't know, maybe 60 miles.
Oh, it's 60 miles. All right, so that's pretty close.
Yeah.
So you'd be closer than here to Willow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I love that idea. There is a big ballot initiative question that's going out, and I'm on with Dwayne Bannock, who's he's a talk show host down on Kenai. You'll recognize his voice if you live down there. But I wanted to talk to you about tourism and a couple of other things. Can you stay on with me?
I'd be happy to.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Big election coming up. Really, the future of the state of Alaska is, in some ways, going to be determined by the outcome of this election. If I may put in a little plug for my friend Anand Dubé, by the way, if you're on West Side, I just wanted to let you know he will transform the legislature. Stay tuned. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give him a call, 569-1080, KOAN.
This is
at 1020.
Are you tired of taking medications? Do your medications create more side effects than solutions? Do you want more than 15 minutes with your doctor? If you answer yes to those questions, you should consider calling the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine. At our center, we take the time to listen and focus on finding the cause of your health problems. Whether you have a cold, high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer, we can help. Call the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine at 563-2366 or visit us online at drellenberg.com. We can help.
Joe Miller, family man, decorated combat veteran, judge, conservative leader.
I'm running for U.S. Senate because I am a believer. I believe government should balance its budget just like our families do. That's why I support balancing the budget by law, so we stop Washington politicians from looting the Treasury. I believe in the rule of law. That's why I support the aggressive enforcement of Americans' immigration laws and why I oppose amnesty for illegal immigrants. It's also why Barack Obama should be impeached. I believe in life and liberty. That's why I'm endorsed by leading pro-life and pro-gun rights organizations. I believe in family. With 8 wonderful children and a loving wife, I want every Alaskan son and daughter to have their shot at the American dream. I'm Joe Miller, and I approve this message because we must restore the America we love.
Paid for and approved by citizens for Joe Miller.
I'm Scott McMurrin, and when it comes to travel in Alaska, I've talked the talk and walked the walk for more than 25 years. I also wrote the book on Alaska travel, so now you can see and save on more of Alaska than ever before. For the top 2-for-1 offers in Alaska, get your Tour Saver now at Cars Safeway or go to toursaver.com. So get cracking, because these Tour Savers sell out fast.
Hot Talk, KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080.
Great cars, a great life. You know, if you're looking for your next car and want somebody to partner with you, want somebody who treats you right, especially if you're in the military, special discounts for all military members, Payless Car Sales is that place. Ollie Sheikh over there, he does an amazing thing, and that is his ideal is not just to sell you a car, it is to make a customer. It is to have a relationship with you where he takes care of you and he makes sure that you're happy with the deal. It's why his His numbers online, you know, the number of people who appreciate his business and give him a 5-star rating, it's through the roof. It's used car dealership here in town. Payless Car Sales, 919 East 5th Avenue, 677 Auto is how you get in touch with him. But the easiest way is just to stop by his place. You know, if you're coming in from the valley, or if you're looking for a car, 919 East 5th Avenue, go take a look at all the cars that he has. What a great businessman. What a great guy. We're on the phone here with Dwayne Bannock. He comes to us from Kenai, and I appreciate you being on the program here with me, Dwayne.
Happy to. Good morning.
Yeah, I have big dreams for the state of Alaska, and I know the export of natural gas liquids is something that we've thought about for 30 years. Frankly, I don't think we ever could have done it before because we needed that gas in order to re-energize the oil fields, you know, in order to keep the pressure up on them. The game changer, I think, may have been Point Thompson. Does that play into this, or am I putting too much emphasis on that?
No, I think that's absolutely right. But let me just dampen your give you a
reality check. I appreciate it. Give me a reality check.
Just a little bit. Let's remember this. No chance does natural gas pay the bills for the state of Alaska.
Not even
Big
close.
oil, the black gold, that's what pays our bills. Now, while I am uber excited about what natural gas is going to do for my community, including guaranteeing that my house stays warm for the rest of my life, the jobs that it provides, the tax base, et cetera, for the state of Alaska, I like to quote Andrew Halcrow, who made a comment, the state of Alaska today is spending money paid for oil that we haven't even found yet. And that's a reality check to our leaders in Juneau, Alaska.
Sarah Palin wrote a really strong article, basically back on her old saw. Yeah, Sarah, who exactly? Yeah. But she's making the case here that if you are for lower taxes, and it's really for lower future taxes on oil, then you're corrupt. You need to be picked up by the FBI and hauled off. I mean, and I gave them my address so they could come get me because I'm for partnering with the oil industry. What do you make of Sarah?
Well, a small disclaimer, I worked in her administration for about 11 months.
So you got to look on the inside. I worked for her campaign for about 8 months. I put in about 1,500 hours of work on her campaign. I was on the inside. I ran her war room during the primary.
So I saw Sarah Palin in the airport. I would say hello to her, and I would greet her. My politics and her politics rarely align, however.
Is that just because you're so clued into the oil industry and being a partner? 'Cause it doesn't seem like she has any partnership ideas or ideals with the oil industry. It's us versus them.
Well, here's what I think it is. Sarah Palin has represented what I consider to be a bad thing in American politics, and that is this crazy wave of populism. It's not about what's right or what's wrong. It's about what feels right, and
demonizing everyone else.
Yeah, and I don't think that anyone has actually nailed populism to the extent that Sarah Palin has. President Barack Obama to a small extent, but Sarah Palin is all about populism. And we all like to be popular, but in government, it ain't always about making popular choices. It's about making the right choices. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that over and over, and I've suggested on our radio show, there's a good chance the yes vote will prevail because of populism. I want to stick it to Exxon because Exxon's been sticking it to me for the last 10 years.
You know, I see populism, the necessary component of populism that I don't like. The necessary component is that there always has to be a demon.
Yeah.
And we identify the demon, therefore we all turn against the demon. If the oil industry is the demon in the state of Alaska, they need to run as fast as they can, because if we're not partners with them and we don't see win-win, we're the worst people to partner with at that point.
Couldn't agree with you more on that point. I would yesterday in the Dispatch, Mike Dingman wrote a column, and I really agreed with it. It's a point we've been trying to make. With all due respect to, remember O.J. Simpson's lawyer, Johnny Cochran?
If the glove don't fit, then you must quit.
That one, the very same one. If you don't know, vote no. And here's my two-part question that I asked to people on Senate Bill 21. Number one, can you give me the dollar amount of a barrel of oil today? Most people, they either guess or they don't know.
I think it's around 104, 105.
104, 105. Yes, it is. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Woo.
So part two of the question, can you tell me what the net effective tax rate is under ACES or Senate Bill 21 today?
It's about the same, right? It's about 60% or so.
That happens to be the correct answer, but you've been studying this probably.
Right.
Most people, when I ask that question, they go, I don't know.
What's a net effective tax rate?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So the ballot question itself is 4 pages long in the book that the state handed out. The ballot question itself is 4 pages long.
Yeah.
Why in the world does somebody like Disco Ray Metcalf think I'm qualified to make a decision on that question?
Because they're not answering that question. I'm talking here with Dwayne Bannock, who's the talk show host down out of Kenai. They're answering a whole series of other questions. Is it our oil? If it's yes on that, then I vote yes. By the way, even if it is our oil, is the corollary to that, then leave it in the ground? Because if it's not leave it in the ground, then we still need somebody to produce it. If I'm not wrong. And so they might ask that. They might answer the question that Sarah Palin is asking. Are people who are in the oil industry corrupt? And a lot of people want to believe that. I don't believe that. Are people who are voting no on one, are they corrupt because they want a competitive tax? I think that a lot of people are asking very simple questions, but they're not asking the core question, do we want to partner in the oil industry and do we want to be competitive to entice people to invest in Alaska?
Well, the fact of the matter is we're deeply spoiled here in Alaska. The oil company has paid our share of state income taxes because guess what? With a few exceptions, we don't pay anything to the state of Alaska to live here.
We get
don't pay
money
for our roads. Yeah. We have more money than brains, I say.
We get talking here with Dwayne Bannock, and you're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan is off today. I got a question about the status of fishing down in the Kenai. I heard it was a great year. Are we still having problems with kings? And then I wanted to talk to you about the ballot initiative against the setnet commercial fishery. So take them in whatever order. How's fishing doing down there? I heard it was good.
It was okay for some. It was an absolute disaster for others. And we are very united. Let's start with the setnet fishing ban.
Right. Basically, they're going to pass something through the ballot box that bans the ability for people to set net fish.
Yeah. So let me begin by telling you, number one, I believe that's a racist proposition. What? What did you just say? Racist?
Racist
yes,
against Alaskans?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, because here's the way that thing reads. It is that would ban set nets in urban areas, including Fairbanks, Anchorage, Kenai, and Juneau and Ketchikan. I would tell you there is virtually zero set net use outside of Cook Inlet. There's no set nets in Fairbanks. There's no set nets in Anchorage. There's no set nets in Juneau. And
so this is just about stopping you guys down in the Kenai from being able to use set nets.
So if the goal is that we must protect and set nets are bad, then why, pray tell, are set nets okay on the Kuskokwim River and other places in urban western Alaska that are largely populated by native peoples? That's why, number one, it's a racist proposition. Number two, I am not interested in pitting one part of Alaska against another part of Alaska. There'll be more fish for you, Glenn and Bonnie. So vote yes on this proposition and you can dip net more fish.
Wow.
You'll hear that.
Well, look, we're gonna. I think we're gonna have to turn this one back, and hopefully we'll get a lot more information about it. Let me take a call here from Greg. Greg, you're on with Dwayne Bannock. Bonnie is in the studio with me. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I just wanted to chime in. I think a no vote is best, but this is largely based upon speculation. And if oil prices go way up, you'd have one scenario in terms of royalties, and if they go way down, you would have another. So I would be cautious to be overly critical. There are actually good conservative folks voting both ways. And, we have a problem, the Republican Party, eating our own. And I would just suggest that everybody give Proposition 1 by voting no a chance, SB 21.
Give the law a chance to work.
Right.
Well, look, the one thing we know for sure, Greg, and I appreciate you being on. The one thing we know for sure is the future, if we do vote a yes on one, is that there will be less investment, so there will be less production. I mean, you can talk about whatever you want about the production that's going on now. There won't be as much of it. Hey, Dwayne, I really appreciate you being on. It's great to know that you're down in the Kenai.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
All right, Dwayne Bannock, he's a radio talk show host from down in the Kenai. Bonnie Cameron in studio with me. I'm Glenn Biegel. Ken Fagan is off. This is the KOAN and KVNT. Stay tuned. In studio with me, I'm Glenn Biegel. Ken Fagan is off. This is the KOAN and KVNT. Stay tuned.
Hey, look, more fresh halibut arriving in the seafood departments at New Sagayan City Market. You can buy the whole cleaned and headed halibut for just $12.99 a pound. That's a good deal. And, of course, the fastest blades in the West behind the seafood counter will be happy to cut your fish into fillets, steaks, or whatever you like, no extra charge. And if salmon is your favorite, New Sagayan City Market are featuring whole, cleaned, air-fresh coho salmon. The wonderful silvers, just $5.99 a pound. Can't catch them for that. New Sagayan City Market. In the butcher shop at New Sagayan City Market, a great price on boneless, skinless chicken thighs, only $2.99 a pound. Everybody loves barbecued chicken, so heat up the barbecue and invite all the neighbors for a cookout. At this low price, you can afford to feed them all. Boneless, skinless chicken thighs, $2.99 a pound, New Sagayan City Market. Nice special in the produce department on Columbine Vineyards red and green seedless grapes, just $2.99 a pound. Bring the gunny sack. New Sagayan Midtown and City Market 13th and 9th.
There's talk, and then there's hot talk. KOAN, Anchorage, 95.5 FM and 1080 AM.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. We expect to hear from President Obama in about 25 minutes on the situation in Iraq and in Ferguson, Missouri, where police have been fighting civilians protesting an officer's shooting of an unarmed man, Michael Brown.
The police started to move forward with their assault vehicles and their riot gear, and then the tear gas started coming.
St. Louis Alderman Antonio French among about 10 people arrested last night. In northern Iraq,
a possible U.S.-led evacuation effort for ethnic minority Yazidis stranded on Mount Sinjar has been put on hold. Special forces finding the refugees were in better condition and in smaller numbers than feared. Humanitarian aid flights will continue, though, as will local efforts to get the remaining Yazidis off that mountain. They remain in need. In Erbil, Iraqi Kurdistan, Greg Palka, Fox News Radio.
The International Red Cross is in contact with a Russian aid convoy heading toward Ukraine, with the Ukrainian government not so trusting. Here's Fox News Radio's Simon Owen.
Chris, the charity working to strike a deal between Ukraine and Russia to get more than 200 Russian trucks over the border into Ukraine to deliver supplies to civilians trapped by fighting. The convoy is currently parked around 25 miles from a border crossing controlled by pro-Russian rebels. Ukraine saying that's an unacceptable entry point because it wants to inspect the cargo amid concerns that the mission is a cover for a Russian military intervention. Russia says that suggestion is absurd. Chris.
Simon, 2 Amish girls are missing in the northern New York town of Oswegatchie near the Canadian border. They've been working at their family's roadside stand yesterday evening. A witness says someone drove off and the girls were gone.
We're going to start looking at sex offenders in the community just to eliminate them as suspects, if nothing else.
St. Louis County Under Sheriff Scott Barno. Those girls, Fanny and Delilah Miller, 12 and 6 years old. This is Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
It takes a lot of courage to face your own death, but I'm glad I finally did. See, I was putting off getting life insurance to protect my family, even though I knew it was important. Then my neighbor's husband died. I watched her struggle emotionally and financially. It really made me face reality. If my husband died, how would I pay the mortgage, the car payments, or keep up the life the kids and I had? I realized I needed to get us life insurance right away. So I called AIG Direct. In less than 5 minutes, I had a quote. I was shocked at how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. I feel so much better knowing my family has protection.
Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now, 1-800-933-5789. That's 1-800-933-5789. 1-800-933-5789.
Hi, this is Dan DiBartolo, the Director for the Permanent Fund Dividend Division. Did you know that August 31st is the deadline for submitting required documents to the PFD office? It is also the cutoff for adding or changing voluntary contributions to the UA College Savings Program and Pay Click Give. Head to pfd.alaska.gov and click on the blue My PFD Info button to check your status or make contribution changes. This message sponsored by the Alaska Department of Revenue and aired by ABA and this station.
Harry Reid and Washington liberals know that Mark Begich is in trouble. Begich can't run on his record of voting with Obama 97% and against Alaska jobs and families. So Obama's and Harry Reid's allies are meddling in our primary and dishonestly attacking Dan Sullivan. Groups tied to Reid, Obama, and environmental extremists are smearing Sullivan because Sullivan can beat Begich in November. Dan Sullivan is the proven Alaska conservative. As Alaska's Attorney General, Sullivan sued the federal government to stop Obamacare. And as DNR Commissioner, he took on Obama's EPA and fought for Alaska energy jobs. Don't let Washington insiders Obama or Reid choose our next senator. On August 19th, vote for the clear conservative choice, Dan Sullivan. American Crossroads paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. AmericanCrossroads.org.
Paid for by Vote No on 1 Anchorage, Alaska 99509. Leslie Ajukovich, Bob Burdo, Rick Meister, Linda Leary, and Rick Boyles, co-chairs, approve this message. Top contributors are BP Anchorage, Alaska, ConocoPhillips Anchorage, Alaska, and ExxonMobil Anchorage, Alaska. And supported by 500 Alaska small businesses, labor unions, native corporations, and community groups.
And now a special announcement from U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski and former Alaska Governor Tony Knowles.
Tony and I are working together to defeat Ballot Measure 1.
Some people say oil tax reform is about helping big oil companies. It's not.
It's about our economic future as Alaskans who own the resources. Oil tax reform is not a partisan issue. It's a vote to protect Alaska jobs and grow our economy.
After years of oil decline, oil tax reform is now working. Investment is up, and that means more oil production, more Alaska jobs, and more state revenue for education and essential services.
Please vote no on August 19th and give oil tax reform a fair chance.
Glenn, every once in a while you find a hidden gem right here in Anchorage. You're talking about the Snow Leopard Boutique. I am. Owner Eileen Bear has an amazing eye for beauty. For decorating ideas, it doesn't get any better than Snow Leopard Boutique. They have 2,400 square feet of everything you need to beautify yourself and your home. Glenn, I noticed a calming atmosphere the moment I walked in. Dan, how about those chocolate truffles? Yeah, and you can wash them down with a free latte. The Snow Leopard Boutique at the corner of Tudor and Old Sword.
You're on Fagan.
Six minutes after the hour here on the Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie Show, and it is Thursday. We're just a few days away from a big election, so we're covering a lot of that, and we're going to have a good friend of mine who I just went and saw in studio with us here in just a minute. Let me tell you about Country Financial before we get to that. If you are thinking that your future is sound, but you don't have to plan for it, you're just like most other people. Unfortunately, that's just not the way it works out. If you don't plan for a financial future and then make it happen, it's probably not going to happen. Country Financial is there just for this purpose. They help make sure that you take care of your responsibilities now, and when you are ready to retire, that you live the life that you have planned out and that you want. Country Financial is at 1-866-COUNTRY, and Mike Daniels has got a great crew of people there. There actually is 13 different locations. There's 5 just in Anchorage, 5 in Anchorage, 5 in Wasilla, and then 3 more across the state of Alaska. 1-866-COUNTRY, plan for your future, and he will make it happen. I want to welcome into the studio Dr. Greg Madden, who comes to us from Chugach Chiropractic. Morning. Hold on a second. We got to get your mic turned on. All right, now, good morning.
Now is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's a great morning, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you much.
I went in to see you yesterday, and I don't know how often this kind of thing happens, but I was bending down right where Bonnie is over there in the studio, and I wanted to grab something from under the desk, and as I was sort of pulling away, I felt something give in my lower back.
Mm-hmm.
And does that happen a lot? And what's the cause of that? I mean, what did I experience?
One of those conditions called living life. Sometimes things happen, and so something shifts, something changes, and there we go. We're off and running with a situation that needs a little chiropractic help.
Did I pull something? Did I hurt something? Did I injure my back, discs, or what was it?
So we can talk about you specifically?
Yeah, we'll just talk about me for a while, because you treated me yesterday. I walked in crooked into Chugach Chiropractic, and I walked out straight.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you were, wanted to bring that up.
HIPAA guidelines here.
Yeah,
oh, there you go. I got HIPAA. Yeah.
And so what was happening was the pelvis shifted a little bit, and one side of the pelvis compared to the other side, when one side will move forward or back, that's going to cause a lot of pain, and that's going to cause a lot of low back troubles. You could also have rotation in the lumbar spine, and you had a little bit of both of those. You had both sides of the pelvis. One side went forward, one side went back. You had the sacrum, which is the base of the spine, had shifted to the side, and then you had a little rotation in the lumbar spine as well. So
it didn't take much.
No,
it was pretty easy to do, as I recall.
I remember it.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like a big deal to me, but
it was extraordinary and ridiculously painful, and it was debilitating for essentially a day. I could not walk straight.
Well, one of the things that you have to realize about this is we do things day in and day out that are going to make movement. That's living life. That's how things happen. And so with a little bit of movement here and there, we change things, and there's a little bit of a problem. Then there's a little bit more of a problem. Then there's another component showing up. But then the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, is when suddenly, you're reaching down to get something, and it may not be anything substantial. And you might be moving correctly. You lift with your legs and not with your back. But you may not be doing anything wrong, but there's just that last little component that shifts into place that now it shifts into the pain mode. And pain is always, almost always the last thing to show up and the first thing to leave. So we were able to get the pain to go away, and the pattern may still show up a little while if it's been something that's chronic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, it's good to come in, just get a tune-up from time to time, and not wait until things sneak up on you and suddenly there's a lot of pain.
Well, things snuck up on me. You guys, you saw me yesterday. I walked in crooked. I walked out straight. I can't thank you enough for helping me out. Tell me a little bit about you guys. First of all, we're with Dr. Madden here from Chugach Chiropractic. You guys have expanded your hours if people want to make an appointment out there?
Yes, sir. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 7. And 7 o'clock, hey, that's catching everybody on the commute home, and that's good for after everybody gets home. Saturday, we're open 9 to 5. So if you're out on Saturdays. At Saturdays, for some reason, the hours don't fill up, but boy, if we do. I mean, it may be Friday afternoon before we get pretty booked up for Saturday. But, yeah.
It's nice that you guys are open Saturday, because I know a lot of people were asking for that. They asked you for a long period of time, and you came on board, and then they were able to have enough doctors to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie, you wanted to ask a question about something that I know a lot of people struggle with, and I know Dr. Madden has some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I've been interested in my dad has type 2 diabetes, and my mom's always on him about trying to lose some weight and get healthy, eat less, all that kind of stuff. And I just wondered about this diet and how it falls into play with type 2 diabetes.
Well, one of the problems with type 2 diabetes, it's usually controlled by diet. Weight loss, things like that are really going to make a big difference in how people are able to deal with and maybe even get rid of the problems of diabetes. Now, this is with type 2. Type 1 is something totally different. With every pound of, shall we say fluff, with every pound of...
That's a nice word.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's about an extra mile of capillaries that the blood has to be pumped through. So when the body's already having a hard time, every pound is another mile, and just some basic hydraulics. It's hard to push pressure through that long of a hose of any type. So weight loss is going to be good. Another component of the diet that we're talking about, the Shape Reclaim diet that we offer, is it's an anti-inflammatory diet. And so getting off the inflammatory foods that we eat is just part of the American diet.
Like what are those?
Well, sugar is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Processed foods are a big one. I don't remember if we talked about this last time I was here, but God made food for human life. Humans made food for shelf life.
Right.
So when you eat things that can sit on the shelf for 25 years, well, if you're in a situation that you have to eat something like that, that's one thing. But that's the way we do as Americans when we shouldn't. It should be stuff fresh out of the garden.
So if we kill it or grow it.
Yeah, exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah, God didn't give us meat to eat that was wrapped in plastic and styrofoam.
Sure, it's hunting season too. Get out there.
Exactly right. So, we don't have Patient Appreciation Hunting Day yet, but I'm still campaigning for that.
You're still working on that one.
Yeah.
Talking with Dr. Madden from Chugach Chiropractic. It's a place I've been treated for any number of things. I had a difference in the length of my legs. Is that common? Because it was about 6 millimeters difference, but enough to cause pain.
Well, the difference in leg length, most people are put together where the legs are going to be level and equal when things are put right. But when you move the pelvis, and like we were talking about in your case, the pelvis on the top of the pelvis on either side can move forward or back. That's going to change the perceptible leg length. So when you look at the legs, someone lays face down and you look at the leg length, it's going to be a big difference in how long one is compared to the other. So that's what lets you see where to challenge different points on the pelvis, and you push here, you push there, you see what needs to be done, you correct it, then you come back and check it again, and there it is.
Well, I had inserts in my shoes, and this is another service that they offer over at Chugach Chiropractic. I had restless leg syndrome.
Really?
That was another one that I was treated for. That was keeping me up all
thing.
night. It really is. And it was miserable because your legs they tingle basically all the time as you go through it. Anyway, it's great to have you in here. I'm so glad you're helping Dan with his weight loss, and I really recommend Chugach Chiropractic if people are looking for somebody to help with life situations. Thanks, Dr. Madden.
Thank you. It's 694-9224, Eagle River, right across the street from the post office.
Thanks, Dr. Madden.
Thank you. It's 694-9224, Eagle River, right across the street from the post office.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Do you own your own business? Are you thinking about starting one? Are you an employee who wants to get the job done the right way and move up the corporate ladder? Well, this is the show for you. Innovation, technology, and professional business advice you can use. Listen to Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt on Hot Talk KOAN 95.5 FM and 1080 AM every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Your small business resource with advice you can use.
Joe Miller, family man, decorated combat veteran, judge, conservative leader.
I'm running for U.S. Senate because I am a believer. I believe government should balance its budget just like our families do. That's why I support balancing the budget by law, so we stop Washington politicians from looting the Treasury. I believe in the rule of law. That's why I support the aggressive enforcement of Americans' immigration laws, and why I oppose amnesty for illegal immigrants. It's also why Barack Obama should be impeached. I believe in life and liberty. That's why I'm endorsed by leading pro-life and pro-gun rights organizations. I believe in family. With 8 wonderful children and a loving wife, I want every Alaskan son and daughter to have their shot at the American dream. I'm Joe Miller, and I approve this message because we must restore the America we love.
Paid for and approved by citizens for Joe Miller.
Hi, this is Jonathan Martin at Harrington & Company. Sellers, if you are going to sell your home, now may very well be the best time. The current interest rates are still very low in comparison to previous loan rates. Now is the time to take advantage of this uncommon phenomenon. We will look back at this period as a golden opportunity to buy or sell. Homeowners planning to sell should call us at 244-0821. We will be happy to come out and do a comparative market analysis at your convenience. Call Jonathan Martin at Harrington & Company, 244-0821. That's 244-0821.
Hey, look, more fresh halibut arriving in the seafood departments at New Sagaya and City Market. You can buy the whole cleaned and headed halibut for just $12.99 a pound. That's a good deal. And of course, the fastest blades in the West behind the seafood counter will be happy to cut your fish into fillets, steaks, or whatever you like, no extra charge. And if salmon is your favorite, New Sagayan City Market are featuring whole, cleaned, air-fresh coho salmon. The wonderful silvers, just $5.99 a pound. Can't catch them for that. New Sagayan City Market. In the butcher shop at New Sagayan City Market, a great price on boneless, skinless chicken thighs, only $2.99 a pound. Everybody loves barbecue chicken, so heat up the barbecue and invite all the neighbors for a cookout. At this low price, you can afford to feed them all. Boneless, skinless chicken thighs, $2.99 a pound, New Sagayan City Market. Nice special in the produce department on Columbine Vineyards red and green seedless grapes, just $2.99 a pound. Bring the gunny sack. New Sagayan Midtown and City Market, 13th and I.
Who was the last Alaska governor to see 16,000 new jobs created on his watch? Was it Wally Hickel, Jay Hammond, Bill Egan? The last governor to see 16,000 new jobs is our current governor, Sean Parnell. Alaska is in the middle of a jobs boom. Since Sean Parnell took office, the Alaska economy has produced some 16,000 new jobs. And you can bet there are more jobs coming. Listen to Jim Huffman, president of a trucking company in Fairbanks.
This year we are buying new trucks, hiring new people. I could put 20 truck drivers to work tomorrow if we could find them. I give the credit to Governor Parnell.
Alaska's economy is back on track. 16,000 new Alaska jobs since Sean Parnell became our governor. That's why Parnell 2014, Box 100719, Anchorage, paid for this message.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN.
8:19 a.m. Not KOAN, news time. Yeah, I know. What? How do you reprogram yourself? I don't know. It takes a long time. KOAN, KVNT, Glenn Biegel here. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie show. Bonnie is across the table from me.
Good morning.
Dan is out of the studio. So he's out running along. I appreciate having Dr. Madden in. You know, losing 45 pounds on that Shape Reclaim diet was quite an eye-opener. I'd worked on it for, I don't know, probably 20 years. And you never think of yourself as heavy, you know, because you just don't want to. But I needed to lose quite a bit of weight. 45 pounds is a lot of weight to be carrying around extra.
Do your knees feel better and
yes,
everything? Good.
Yes. You know, first of all, you look younger, and so people expect you to do younger man things, which is good. You know, because while you're sitting there saying, "Oh, kids, I'm too tired. I need to take a nap," and I did have to take a nap all the time. That was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to do the diet in the first place. We would go around, and this was when people were doing Atkins.
Oh yeah.
And Atkins, while it worked for me, because your brain, I don't know if people know this, but your brain uses up somewhere around 60% of all of the sugars that you consume in a day.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's for people who are, you know, thinking and that's what they do for their job, your brain is quite it needs a lot of energy to work properly. So I was burning off, you know, a lot of fat, and I wasn't taking in any sugars. And what I noticed is I couldn't think. You know, I just couldn't concentrate on stuff. I would sit there with a blank stare on my face. It was all I could do just to stay awake. And I really think that Atkins was not good for me. There are fats that are in your brain that are good fats, and they're supposed to be there, and they're healthy fats. But once those start getting consumed, you know, it's not a healthy situation. So I would say that if you're a real hardcore dieter, if you're on Atkins for any length of time, you really do have a chance to damage yourself, because I think I lost a couple of steps mentally. And most people don't want to talk about that. But
Yeah, I don't want to exercise my brain anymore.
I know. But anyway, but I really like this diet because it is much more healthy. And I'm down 12 pounds, and I decided I would do it with Dan. And yeah, I think so. Anyway, I'm looking forward to being a little lighter, looking a little better. This came out yesterday, and we talked about it when Joe Miller was on with us. A study, you have a near zero impact on U.S. policy. And here's the opening paragraph. A startling new political science study concludes that corporate interests and mega-wealthy individuals control U.S. policy to such a degree that the preferences of the average American appear to have only a minuscule, near-zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. See, I guess I could...
Doesn't that make you want to go vote?
Well, that's the one thing. First of all, our public policy is going to be dictated by who goes to the polls and who votes. Yeah. So this is probably true when you look at things over 2 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. For instance, we're not having a great deal of effect on the fact that the Democrats want an open border, and so do a whole bunch of Republicans. Not all of them. And if you want a closed border, you almost certainly are a Republican. But I think something like 73% don't want to see this massive flood of immigrants, illegal immigrants coming across the border. They want a legal process. And we're not having much of an impact. But you also look at it from another point of view. We're about to vote for who goes into office right now. Coming up Tuesday, people are early voting right now. Prop 1, Prop 2, Prop 3, Prop 4. I mean, Prop 2 through 4 are coming up in the general election ballot. Those are big deals. The repeal of Anchorage Ordinance 37.
Yep.
The idea that a person does not have an impact on it, we're not going to be controlled by, and I guess what they would say is, though, this is why this statistic is a little suspect to me. My interests and corporate interests align. Who will they record as being interested in the outcome of Prop 1? Corporate interests, not my interest. But see, that's why you look at these studies, and this is out on Breitbart, came out yesterday. Study, you have near zero impact on U.S. policy. I don't know that you can measure it. I really don't know.
I don't know. I have a problem with that, though, because of the fact that corporate interests can donate to campaigns and pretty much influence elections. I mean, you're
people
deluged
stay
with
awake.
all of it, right?
In addition,
right.
But I mean, you have to add that too, is that people who are donating, and I don't think corporations can literally donate to campaigns, but and
in roundabout ways,
things have changed.
With super PACs.
Oh yeah, well,
I
know personally that all the corporations I've been involved in, all the management would go to these fundraisers,
right.
And people would end up giving $500 to somebody who completely disagreed with on every issue. But because I knew them to be conservatives, but the leaders of the corporation had a fundraiser, you were kind of, suggested that you go, and all of a sudden here you are writing $500 checks to people who you don't agree with. But the other part of that is that individual people aren't giving 20 or 25 or 50 bucks like would be really good, and I'm going to do for Alaska Policy Forum. I mean, here's a group, if you really want the public to have a say in public policy, Alaska Policy Forum, front and center on that. But anyway, they're going to record the fact that it's corporate interests who want a no on one. But it's not. Every interest in Alaska, even and this is what's so funny, teachers have the greatest interest in having a no on one.
You'd think they would be all for it.
Absolutely. They should be no on one, because if we drop down to 300,000 barrels a day of production, which is what's going to happen under ACES.
There go the kids.
Right. There go the kids, and now there are only half as many teachers. Now, I know the other half of teachers would feel totally vindicated and justified that, well, at least we stopped the oil companies.
Good for you. Now they're gone.
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
Well, they won't be gone. They'll always be here, because as long as we have oil, we'll have oil companies, but we may not have a vibrant state of Alaska.
Right.
The people will be gone.
Right.
Back in 1986 and 1987, by the way, you'll probably see this if we do have a yes on one vote, is we had this, there was a tax reform act called TEFRA, the Tax Equity Fairness Reform Act, or something like that. Anytime you have fairness in the, in the title of the bill, you're probably in trouble.
Watch out.
Anyway, it was called TEFRA, and it changed the rules on when you could claim a house and what kind of tax deduction you could take on it. And what happened was it freaked Alaska out. There was some disparity in who owned houses here versus who owned them across the country. And people stopped being able to write off houses. Our housing market crashed into the floor.
I remember that. Yeah,
it was dramatic. It was devastating. Banks went bankrupt. People went bankrupt. They just put the keys to their house on the kitchen table and out they walked.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't actually have that big of an impact on the number of people who were here. I think it was 10, 15, 20,000. If we lose 10, 15, 20,000 people, that's the effect. The effect is dramatic. We don't need a large change in order for there to be dramatic, devastating, unbelievable impacts, because we live on a knife's edge up here. If you had to pay even half of what the oil companies put in, which is what we're looking at dropping down to about half production. If you had to put in their other half, you would be paying $10,000 in state income tax for every man, woman, and child. There's no one in our state who could possibly afford that other than the few millionaires who we have here.
Right.
Now, by the way, we have fewer millionaires in Alaska than there are anywhere else. This is not a place where millionaires congregate. We do have a billionaire to speak of, though,
Well,
Bob Gillum.
And I know that when Robert and I were moving around, we would really look at states that had no income tax. That was important to us. And I think when people consider moving up to Alaska, that's definitely got to enter into it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, the yes on one people are people who are saying that even though we have more oil, we have more tax revenue, so that, the possibility of having a state income tax is less. They're making the argument because I think they see this in, if the oil companies are doing well, automatically everybody else is doing worse.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true. But they keep making the point that if we go no on one and we keep this lower future tax rate, it's the same tax rate for today, but it's a lower future tax rate. If we do that, then we're going to have an income tax. I don't know how they figure that.
Yeah.
If we're going to turn around the decline and stop the decline, we're not going to have an income tax.
That's fear-mongering from their side.
That is, because it's not true, too.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's a big vote. It's a big deal coming up. It's one chance we have to turn around this study in Breitbart. You have a near zero impact on U.S. policy and make the people's voice be heard. I'm really looking forward, by the way, to our conversations about marijuana and its legalization.
I'm not looking forward to that.
You're not?
No.
Why? Just because it's a kind of a negative.
Because my views conflict.
Well, the thing is that I think Alaska is going to vote yes on it, so we really have to figure out, well, what are we going to do when it is legal? Because it's mostly legal anyway. Stay tuned. You're listening to KOAN and KVNT. The Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie Show continues. Listening to KOAN and KVNT. The Fagan.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
Local news brought to you by Jansen Funeral Homes, Jansen's Evergreen Memorial Chapel, Jansen's Alaska Cremation Center, and Jansen's Eagle River Funeral Home. Jansen Funeral Homes, where just like family, they're there when you need them.
With KOAN News, I'm Ann Kenda. A woman was able to drive herself to a hospital after a mauling by a brown bear on the Heaney Ridge Trail in Cordova. 57-year-old Thea Thomas was hiking with two dogs that ran off, then came back with a bear running behind them. After the bear knocked her to the ground and bit her several times, Thomas had to hike 1.5 miles back to her truck to go for help. But she's doing okay since the bear didn't get to any major organs or arteries. The trail will be closed for a week. 2 women survived a close encounter with a polar bear on Barter Island. 51-year-old Marie Rexford and her 81-year-old mother were spending the night in a tent at a fish camp when the bear put a paw under the tent. They were able to scare it away. The Matsu Borough Assembly has put off a decision about what to do about the $12.3 million a federal agency wants back after a ferry project failed. That's your Hot Talk News Update.
It will be mostly cloudy throughout today with a touch of rain, high 65. Partly cloudy tonight with a brief shower or two, low 52. Expect a blend of clouds and sunshine tomorrow with a few showers possible, high 62. Saturday, we'll see a blend of clouds and sunshine with a passing shower or two later on, high 62. And Sunday, mostly cloudy with showers possible, high 62 as well. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather. KOAN 95.5 FM and 1080 AM.
Dear Smokey Bear, for teaching us how to prevent wildfires for 70 years, outdoor lovers would like to say something.
Happy 70th, big guy. Let's bring it in for a bear hug. Come on.
For safety tips, visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state foresters, and the Ad Council.com.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Just 20 minutes after you quit smoking, your body sees health benefits. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. I don't have to tell you that smoking is bad for your health. 70% of smokers want to quit. So I'm here to give you some good news about how your body starts to repair itself almost immediately after you quit. 12 hours after one stops smoking, the carbon monoxide levels in the bloodstream decrease. Make it 2 weeks, and you'll notice an improvement in your lung function. And get this, make it 1 year smoke-free, and your risk of heart attack will drop to less than half of a smoker. By year 5, your body will have repaired itself, and your risk for stroke will be the same as a non-smoker. One more tip. It takes your brain 21 days to make or break a habit. I know it's tough, but keep that mini goal in mind. You can do it. 21 days to kicking the habit. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Nasacort Allergy 24-Hour. The first 24-hour prescription-strength nasal allergy spray available over the counter has a few facts for allergy sufferers. Fact 1. Your symptoms aren't caused by allergens. They're caused by your body's chemical responses to them. Fact 2. Antihistamines target only one chemical response. And fact 3. Nasacort stops more to relieve your worst nasal allergy symptoms, even congestion. You've got the facts. Now get relief with Nasacort. It stops more of what makes you miserable. Used as directed.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash, plus discounts that only members get, plus 20% off almost the entire store, plus that's for a whole year, plus rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid, with us, it's personal.
Glenn Biegel, you have beautiful teeth.
Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years.
I get scared at the dentist.
Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist for Dr. Kiley.
I know it's important to have good dental health.
And you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care.
Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
8 stars of gold on a field of blue. Alaska's flag, may it mean to you.
I'm an Alaskan, and I'm really tired of Mark Begich and Meade Treadwell attacking Dan Sullivan. Treadwell supported Democrats in the past, but now he's acting like Begich and making ridiculous attacks he knows aren't true. Sullivan stood up to Obama as Alaska's Attorney General, fought for access to our fish and game, and brought new oil and gas jobs to Alaska. Dan is as Alaskan as it gets. My name is Athena Fulton, and I really believe that Dan Sullivan is the only candidate who can beat Mark Begich, and that would be good for Alaska.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080 KOAN.
I love these guys. They put roofs on people's houses to protect their investments, and they are also Better Business Bureau Business of the Year. I call it roofing balance. Make a they make a presentation. They make a process of putting a roof on so effective, so efficient, that they were able to do something that would be unheard of in a difficult industry like the roofing industry. Better Business Bureau across all businesses in the whole state of Alaska. It's amazing. 345-5555. They have roofs that have up to a 50-year lifetime. This is technology that did not exist the last time you put your roof on. And a lot of houses were built, about that 30 years ago. That was the best roof they could put on your house. If you're looking for an expert to come to take a look, if there's sagging in your roof, if there's any moss up there, if there are missing shingles or tiles, you've got to get an expert to come out and take a look at it. Because once your roof gives way, once that seal is broken and the water gets in, it will do more damage than the roof will cost. So Give them a call, 345-5555. Frank, James, and Becky over at Earhart Roofing, the best in the business. Always great to have the opportunity to work with the best. You're listening to the Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie Show. Fagan is out today, and if you were to dream up what Dan was doing right now, what would it be, Bonnie?
Well, I would hope sleeping.
I don't think so. I think he'd be golfing. And even if he was sleeping, he'd still be golfing.
In his dreams, huh?
In his dreams.
I hope he's relaxing.
We need to talk about this was the public television debate that was on yesterday, and I have made a point of saying that whenever somebody doesn't show up to a debate, especially if their skill is not in debating, they lose that debate. Dan Sullivan didn't show up for the debate. Look, I don't know how you can take that as anything other than a loss for his campaign.
He was an empty seat, and they said it 2 or 3 times. It was
well, that looks bad.
obvious.
I don't know what he possibly could have done that was more important than this debate. Dan says the KTUU debate is the one that everybody watches. I've never watched the KTUU debate, and I've watched several of these public television debates.
That was me too. Whenever I was getting into politics and I was just starting to get interested in it, I tuned into the KAKM debate every single time, and so.
All right, so Dan Sullivan, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's so important for Sullivan to show up for these. Mark Begich is a fantastic debater. He knows when to filibuster. He knows how to keep people on his side. He knows how to keep the ball in the air. He knows how to do the bait and switch. He knows how to look. He knows all the tricks for debate. Dan Sullivan, in my mind, is a great candidate, but he's not a good debater, and it is an important part of winning the general election. So I think when he misses these debates, not only is he denying people an opportunity to get a sense of him, to get a feel of him, but he's denying himself an opportunity to do something and learn something about how to combat Mark Begich.
And it's not just to the general election that he's going to have to debate. It's later on in the Senate, on the Senate floor. You're essentially debating your other senators, and you're trying to convince them to vote your way.
Well, that's all public spectacle. Don't you think that's largely public spectacle?
Yeah, because they've probably already made their decisions.
They've already
in the
made
back
their
rooms.
minds up in the back rooms and whatever. Now, I do hope, though, that he takes a note from Ted Cruz. We talked about this yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to get my thoughts out on it. And this goes to how important it is to have a real fighter, a real clear-headed, clear-thinking person who knows that the people can make a difference in a debate, that it's not just about the 100 people who are sitting on the floor of the Senate and talking to each other and out on C-SPAN. Ted Cruz stopped the debate about Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
He stopped it for 22 hours, and what happened in that 22 hours was a transformation of the people of America.
I learned a lot.
Not only did we learn a lot, even I never watched the debate. What I learned was I had a chance to call.
Right.
There was a pause going on that I could take an advantage of. I could send an email. I could involve myself. I could do something. Even if it wasn't a vote that I couldn't vote on that Senate floor, I could let them know what I thought of their actions.
And even if people weren't tuning into C-SPAN at the time, you still heard about it on the regular news, and you knew that Ted Cruz and Mike Lee were doing something about it. They were really standing up for us.
Yeah. So I think that having people like that down there, they're rare. We have not seen the election of probably another. Hopefully we'll have a couple this year. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked out across the whole spectrum. I know that there are going to be a lot more Republicans, and that the Republicans that are getting elected these days are much more conservative than the Republicans like McConnell and those guys who got elected in the past. So my hope is the Senate is getting a little more conservative. We're going to have a few more Tea Party people, but we'll see. All right, so what happened in this debate yesterday? This is now between Treadwell and Miller.
Well,
and I know you're a Miller supporter,
I
so
am.
you people have to realize that. And
but I took notes from both of them, and I was really impressed actually with Meade Treadwell. But he does echo a lot of what Joe Miller says.
Yeah. Now, do you believe he could be as? I think he started out to be fairly moderate at the beginning of this. At the beginning of the discussion, and I think he turned more conservative, and that those values are being cemented in him. Is that fair, or is that not fair? Would you counsel me against that?
I hear a lot of the same things I heard from Lisa Murkowski when she was running.
Now, but I thought you just said that he sounded very conservative, and you liked a lot of what he said, because I've never liked anything Lisa said.
But during 2010, she did try to sound more conservative, even sounding pro-choice. less government interference.
You mean pro-life? She tried to sound pro-life?
Oh, yeah, she never tried to say she was pro-choice.
Oh, she's not going to be able to sell that this time.
No.
All right,
no.
we
Now
don't want
she's
to talk
proven
about
it.
Lisa because
No.
we get off track here.
No,
Let's talk
but-
about Treadwell. So you're still thinking Treadwell is a little too close to Lisa. He hasn't shed that.
If you listen very closely to a lot of the things he says, he'll say something very upfront that sounds very conservative, but then he'll backtrack and he'll say his real feelings later on.
Well, let's get into a couple of the details for him and a couple of the details for Miller. Joe was on the show yesterday, and from what I have heard from people have never heard him as clear, as convincing, as good as he was on this program yesterday, and he was on for a whole hour.
He spoke fluently for an entire hour of radio.
And the thing that I thought was the most important about it is he does best when he's in combat.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's my takeaway is he and Dan were in combat, right? And when he has come on my program in the past, I really don't question people as closely as Dan does, and I don't put up I might ask him a hard question, and I often will, but the atmosphere is not, look, I'm out to get you. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to find a way to make sure that you know that this is not friendly territory. He did the best when he was in conflict.
He's more comfortable that way, yes, absolutely.
He speaks shorter, he gives shorter answers, the answers are very clear.
Well, and he backs up his statements. He gives the reasons why he's, thinking the way he's thinking.
All right. So he and he's, as far as I'm concerned, he's won essentially every debate.
He's trying to debate you as he's talking to you if you don't agree with him.
Yeah. But he's won every debate that they've had because his presentation is very clear, he's very comfortable, he makes people laugh.
Yes.
And I think in all those senses, people are getting a different view. My guess is most people never even saw Joe Miller speak other than when the news media was essentially hounding him for whatever they were after him about.
Right. When he has airtime, he makes good use of it.
Yeah, but so they'd never actually seen Joe Miller in a debate. Maybe the last time, maybe last night was the first one they'd seen. We'll get an update on this debate. Love to hear from you. 569-1080 is our phone number. 569-1080. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan is out today, so Bonnie and I are in studio. Love to hear from you. 569-1080. Stay tuned. Are in studio. Love to hear from you. 569-1080. Stay tuned.
You're on with all 569-1080 KOAN.
You take a 5, a 5, a 9, and a 7. Add them all up, it's the number of heavenly sights you see when you get on board the 26 Glacier Cruise.
Discover glaciers and wildlife in Prince William Sound with Phillips Cruises and Tours. Choose our 26 Glacier Cruise or the Glacier Quest. Both include hot lunch, Forest Service narration, and no seasickness guarantee. Visit 26glaciers.com to book your adventure today.
It's 26. I said the 26. The 26 Glacier Cruise.
Who's the conservative Republican who can beat Mark Begich? Dan Sullivan's a Marine whose roots in Alaska go back over 20 years. As Alaska's Attorney General and DNR Commissioner, Sullivan supported our hunting and fishing rights and fought to expand access to our lands. And Sullivan stood strong against the Obama administration, suing to stop Obamacare, fighting against federal overreach, and jump-starting jobs and energy production throughout Alaska. Now Sullivan is running for the U.S. Senate to cut wasteful spending, rein in Obama's EPA, and take care of our veterans. In the Senate, Sullivan will vote to repeal and replace Obamacare and fight for a balanced budget amendment to stop the Washington politicians from bankrupting America. On August 19th, vote for Dan Sullivan, the conservative Republican who will beat Mark Begich.
I'm Dan Sullivan, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sullivan for U.S. Senate.
I'm in Yosemite National Park to talk Gold Bond Rapid Relief Cream with the Miller family. So how many itchy bug bites and rashes do you have?
33 bites.
34.
And a case of poison ivy.
It itches.
Do not scratch.
Miller family, relief starts now. Gold Bond has twice the itch-fighting medicine of hydrocortisone cream.
Ooh.
Plus aloe and vitamin E. It's fast relief on contact.
Feels better already. Who's up for a hike?
Look at the big kitty.
I'm out. Gold Bond Rapid Relief Cream. Relief starts now.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
569-1080. If you want to participate in the program, talking about the KSKA public debate. Is that, I don't know if that's the
The radio, I think.
Oh, is
radio
that
one?
what's the
KAKM?
KAKM? There you go. I didn't catch it. It is a requirement of mine that I turn off any political discussion late at night so that I can get some sleep. Before we get back to that, let me tell you about Payless Car Sales and Ali Sheik over at 919 East 5th Avenue. If you are looking for the car of your dreams for a price you can afford, he really does try to marry those two things together. Great cars at affordable prices. It's the reason why he is the fastest growing and second largest used car dealership. He walked me through the process by which he selects which cars come on his lot. It's very selective. Many of the cars, and I found out that if you are out buying a car at like an auction, some of the cars that he rejects are at the auction, and that's the reason why you may be a little less sure, because he's sure that they're not the cars he wants to sell. Two things have to be true to be a car on his lot. He would sell it to his own family, and his people would buy it themselves. 677 Auto, 919 East 5th Avenue, Payless Car Sales. Go check them out. All right, the public television debate was, KCAM debate was on, and Dan Sullivan was not there.
He was an empty seat.
An empty seat. Hopefully it will not be an empty suit if he does become our senator. And I always say that if he doesn't go to the debate, he loses the debate. Because and the people of Alaska lose the debate too, because they're not able to see the people who are going to represent them. I don't know what could possibly have been more important than going this debate, unless it was like his military service, which I know takes him away. But I don't think that was the case yesterday.
I think they would have said that had that been the case.
Yeah,
that would have been fair to say, but they said he declined it.
All right, so he declined to go to the public television debate. One big one left, and that's the KTUU Channel 2 debate. So he will have to be seen by, I guess, the rest of the public in that one.
And I believe that's taped.
You said that there were three things that you thought were pretty striking differences: climate change, health care, and the Second Amendment between Treadwell and Miller.
Well, I don't know about differences, but definitely these are the things that people more clue into.
Okay.
So climate change, the question was, what should the U.S. do about climate change's impact? And Mead Treadwell went first, and his answer was that we should help Alaska adapt. Well, to me, that says that he believes in climate change, right? But then he went on to talk about how, not to tax us more. They shouldn't tell us what cars to drive. So he didn't say that climate change was not a factor, but then Joe Miller went on to say that the science on it is still out, it's inconclusive. If there is good science on it, then we need to do a cost-benefit analysis so that even if it is man-made, is it going to hurt a family more to tax them than to let it happen the way it's going to happen?
So Joe didn't throw out the possibility that this wasn't man-made.
No.
He just says the science at this point is inconclusive. Now, if he were shown science that says that it is conclusive, you think he would side that says, okay, well, I accept that global warming is occurring.
He said.
And if he was shown science that said that our carbon additions to the atmosphere do impact the heat of the Earth.
He said, even if it is man-made, is it hurting the people's bottom line? And he talked about just doing the cost-benefit analysis, and I had never really considered that before. That should we tax people more even if it is man-made? Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Well, here's what I always thought, and I agree that climate change is going on. It's been going on for the last 1,000 years.
But is it man-made? That's
right?
the question.
And it was very dramatic before man could have had any impact on it. So the question isn't whether the climate is changing, and the question isn't whether the climate has changed over the time that humanity could have had an impact. The question to me is it going to be catastrophic? Could it even be good?
Right.
I mean, they've shown that up here in Alaska, we may be the biggest benefactors of climate change because it could open up a whole new fishery.
And it'd be warmer.
Right, and it'd be a lot warmer. Anyway, so...
But something that Mead did that I found
so
interesting...
Mead essentially accepted that climate change is going on, and Joe went back one step and said, well, I'm not really sure that the science is conclusive. Show me that science first, and then after I see that, then we'll do cost-benefit to find out.
Well, and what Mead did then was he came back with a quip, and he said, oh, I believe science is inconclusive too. So then he came back, and it totally backtracked everything he'd already said. And I always think that's funny when they do that in debates. They come back and, oh, I believe that too, you know, real quick and following up on that. But
his previous statements about climate change are that he'd be pretty firmly in the camp that he believes climate change is going on.
That's how it sounded.
Yeah, and I think that the science, what is inconclusive is the people who are actually saying that they have science that shows that it's going on, because they keep modifying the temperature values. I mean, you look out there, and NOAA has even admitted, yes, we modified temperature values based on what we think the real readings should be.
But there's proof
How is
that they
that
did
science?
do that. Yeah, there's proof that they did do that.
Yeah, you go out.
You don't hear that, though.
And go out to What's Up. What's Up is, if you just look that up on Google, you'll come up with the primary site.
As in Watts.
Yeah, WATTS.
Okay.
What's Up with that? I think is the site where they have most of the information that shows there is some funny business being played. Okay, so that's climate change. Healthcare.
Healthcare. They assumed that they were for repeal. So they didn't even say, "Are you for repealing it?" They just assumed these two candidates are for repeal, and so they asked them, "How would you replace it?"
Okay.
And so Joe Miller is saying no replace at this point. The number one, and they asked him first. The question went to him first.
Okay.
He said the number one thing is to get rid of it. You'd need a 2/3 majority in order to do that, and we might have that with a wave election. If not, the House should defund it. And then he talked about replacing with tax incentives and HSAs, or tax incentives for HSAs, health savings
account, yeah,
and catastrophic coverage, and then to leave it to the free market. It should be free enterprise.
You know, I look at the problem going on in healthcare, and if I could just say, anytime you go to the doctor, in comparison to what healthcare costs were 25, 30 years ago, everything's catastrophic.
Right.
Everything that you could do. I heard somebody went to get a Band-Aid put on, and it cost them thousands of dollars, over $10,000, because the cost that they pile on to you if you're a paying customer versus a non-paying customer, they're just astronomical. So the idea that we had a system that worked, because this is one of the things Amanda Coyne put to me, is, well, what would you do to get the system to work better than it was before? And without putting into the mix the fact that the government has made our healthcare system far more expensive than it ever would be by putting a guaranteed payer.
Right.
Now, this is what I mean by that. Let's say that you wanted to sell televisions. And so the government said, we're going to buy 1 million televisions regardless of what you charge us for them. And so you got a guaranteed payer. Now, other people really want televisions really bad. So they get television insurance so that they don't really know what the cost of the television is, and then they can maybe go get a television every once in a while too. That's the system we have, where Costco and Sam's they might have had $200 televisions before, when somehow now they're $1,000 televisions.
Right.
But you got a guaranteed payer, and by the way, the government pays out over 50% of every dollar that goes into healthcare comes from the government. Insurance, private insurance, is about 40%, and cash is about 10%. Those are the numbers. That is a recipe for disaster. There's no price controls on anything. Lawyers essentially run the healthcare system, and there's no reason why a hospital would tell you, we don't want you to have this procedure, or we don't want you to have this test, because it's not necessary. They will always tell you, well, here are the 100 tests that you could have, and we really think you should take them all. Because they're looking for how to cover their bottom line, and there's no cost controls on the system.
Yep, that's a good point.
Well, anyway, so that's the problem I have with healthcare, and if people have to realize, if we start rationalizing our healthcare system, it's going to take a lot of work. And I don't know that right now, everybody's a loser in the current healthcare system. It consumes 18% of our gross domestic product. That's almost twice as high as every other country. So everybody's a loser right now. And so don't tell me that we can't design a system where there are a few losers or a few people who have to adjust, or we have to go to charity care for some people, and tell me that's unacceptable. By the way, that's where we are right now. Right now, if I came out and said, I want a system where people have to pay their own way, as many people as possible, where we rationalize our healthcare costs, and where we get the lawyers out of the middle of your doctor's operating room, and some people are going to have to accept charity care. They would call me racist, bigoted, a horrible person. You want people to die. You don't care whether people are cared for. Even though the system that I had just given you is the system that we had, which is a very good system before we add all this government involvement.
It was the best.
I don't know. It's just aggravating to me because they don't let you have an honest discussion. Second Amendment, big difference between everybody, or?
Well, and Mead also, I should say, was for repealing. He's for keeping pre-existing conditions. And tax incentives also.
All right. Well, actually, unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Yep.
Oh, well, I hope people got a chance to look at the KAKM debate yesterday. Still one big debate to go, and Sullivan, I'm sure, is going to go to this. Otherwise, they would have highlighted that. Been a pleasure to be with you. Glenn Biegel in here for Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Bonnie with me as well. God bless you, folks. Have a great Thursday. God bless you, folks. Have a great Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Be sure to catch them every weekday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. on Hot Talk KOAN 95.5 FM, 1080 a.m. and online at 1080koan.com.
Trailboss Solutions is your local award-winning, nationally recognized construction and remodel firm. From handyman services to kitchen design and remodel to custom home construction, Trailboss Solutions has the experienced professionals to take your project from initial design through completion, on time and on budget. Trailboss Solutions is the only call for all your construction, design, and remodel needs. Please visit us on the web.